so good.
I know.
Why haven't you guys watched it?
We just don't watch that much TV. We we always watch TV, but we don't watch TV.
No, but that's why that show's so great, because you can just kind of have it on and then randomly glance up and have Nick Offerman and Amy Poehler make you happy.
But so when we have something on, it's typically the same 3 TV shows or movies, and it's because all right, we want something on that Thea can watch and enjoy while we're eating or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because Thea's really bad at eating unless she's just zoned out into a TV show. So
Okay.
if we can put on Moana or Sesame Street or Star Wars, boom, she's in it, and she'll just let us shovel food in her mouth.
Fair enough.
But if we're actually do it whatever, we don't really have that much time.
So what do you do once she goes to bed and you have on the TV, or you just leave on what was already on?
She goes to bed usually around 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
She's usually up and down periodically during that time.
Right.
So we go in, we rub her back, and it's okay, we're still here, don't worry. Then we can leave. And so we usually throw on something that we've seen before or something that we really don't care about. So we'll watch, we've been watching a lot of American Ninja Warrior lately. Because who cares? It's just a bunch of runs of the same course. And as long as we see the 3 people we care about, meh.
Okay.
So we've been doing that, and of course we'll watch Gilmore Girls for the 105th time. Sometimes I'll throw on Chuck or something like that.
I don't think I could watch Gilmore Girls anymore. I am so burned out on Gilmore Girls.
It's just relaxing. It's nothing goes wrong in that world. Even the big horrible traumatic things are just still nothing. It's I said it before, I think it's the Leave It to Beaver of our generation.
I can see that. I mean, listen, I put on Great British Bake Off when I'm in that mode, because again, I can just zone out on it.
And as much as I know everybody loves that show, I just don't.
Oh man,
I just don't care about the food they're making.
Oh
if I don't feel like I can pick up anything, I just don't care.
Oh,
I'm never
man.
gonna make a rolled spring sponge cake. I just don't care about that.
It's so good.
Why don't they ever have any the Great Cookie Bake Off? You never see anybody making fancy cookies. It's always cake.
No, they make it's just different. It's British. So there's an American version where I'm sure you could find much more similar
I've
stuff.
never seen a show where people are here's our cookies that we're making.
There's the biscuits episodes. There's cookies.
Those are biscuits. Those are biscuits. Biscuits are not cookies.
They are in Britain.
I know, but I'm American.
So you got to watch the American version of it, which is not as good.
I'm white trash. I'm sorry. I'm American white trash.
Speaking of that, should we keep going? Should we move on? How do you say it? How do you drive this ship?
You want to get started?
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Two Dumb Dads. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And this is episode 33 for August 30th. We do have one quick announcement before we get started, and that is we're making some scheduling changes. So it's that time of year where we start up school again. We have a semester that's beginning, and that means we have a new schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, this time of year, that means we have to compare schedules, compare kids' lives and everything. And so it looks like Fridays are going to be our release day. So we're moving it back 2 days. So if you're hearing this, it's because you just noticed that we released this on a Friday. But so just so you know, we're not actually technically late anymore. We just forgot to let you know that we were changing our recording schedule.
Because we didn't really know what it was going to be.
Yeah, everything kind of falls on your head at once, and then you're just scrambling to put it together. And so we recorded the monthly download earlier. So we made sure everybody had something to listen to while we were figuring this out. And now we're doing this to make sure we still get an episode out for you.
It is interesting how much things change as your kids get older, and because we don't have a set work schedule, so
sure.
it's your ability to be flexible is definitely something it's
dwindled away from you. Somebody's just chipping away, whittling away at that stick, and suddenly, hey, you don't have a free life anymore.
No, every time someone's like, hey, we got this going on, I was like, all right, let me think about that. And I was like, I don't know when I can do that, but okay, I'll try to figure it out.
I have my 3 priorities, and they are all booked for the rest of my life.
Pretty much.
But that being said, we're going to go ahead and dive into stuff today. So let's talk about your adventures in dadding.
I think we have a big one we're going to kind of touch on, but my funny thing for adventure in dadding was we're in a lot of the same place with Miles, totally into Terrible Twos. I know he's not 2 yet, but he is in the stereotypical throwing tantrums when he doesn't get what he wants, and he's still linguistically Like he talks, but like it's very simple, and so he doesn't have words for everything. So like if you can't understand, he gets upset. But the funny thing that happened, and it finally happened. I don't think I should be proud of this as a parent, but I'm proud of it as a parent. So we were getting ready one morning to take him to school. This is probably like 2 or 3 days ago.
Heard about
You
this.
probably did. And Miles, one of the things Miles has really started, which I actually like a lot, is he likes to sing. Sometimes it's like a word or a couple words, or it's gibberish, but he likes to sing. And I'm like, that's awesome. So we encourage that. But he was walking around upstairs as Sarah, my wife, was getting ready, and I heard him go singing. I was like, is he singing? And he was going, fuck, 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 fuck,
Yes!
fuck, 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 fuck,
Yes!
fuck, fuck, fuck.
It wasn't me.
Oh man. And
I wasn't the first.
oh man. And Sarah and I
Oh,
like,
that's so good.
so like
oh my god!
and he had the-
I can hear like the trumpets playing. I can hear everybody who has said that I would be the one who taught our kids to swear.
oh man. I was so, but he had his pacifier on, so I couldn't quite like. It took him a minute. He's like, fuck, 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 you, fuck, fuck, fuck. And I was
that's
like,
so good.
I was like, wait a minute. And I kind of looked at Sarah, and I was like, is he singing fuck, 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 fucking you, fuck, fuck, fuck? And she was like,
Oh, I love it.
yep. And I was like, all right. Well,
Can I just say that the best case scenario for this is that your kid teaches my kid to swear, and it's never my fault.
well, he hasn't done it since, but listen, it's that weird moment, because I think I told your wife about it, and like I know as a parent I'm supposed to be like, gotta be concerned. And the other part of me is like, this is where I'm not a good parent. I was like, this is really fucking funny.
Oh yeah, no, I wouldn't really care that much, except for the fact that my wife would strangle me.
I mean, it's going to happen, but it's just fuck, 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 fuck. So that's my adventure in dating, where all of a sudden Sarah and I had that realization. We're like, oh man, we gotta watch.
Oh my god,
we gotta watch what, because he's mimicking, right? So,
right.
But more importantly, like just music that we listen to, because my wife likes the R&B and the hippity hop more than I do, and some of the language can be questionable within that music in terms of for a young child. And I had a moment being like, Sarah, there are words he may repeat while we listen to this, and so I don't know if we can listen to Beyonce as much as we've been listening to the Beyonce.
Yeah, I don't think that's where you got it from.
No. I'm saying you have to be aware of these things, like what's playing in the car, because the Carter's album is really good.
Okay,
just so you know, it's a good album. So that's my adventures in dating, as my son has breached the line of saying fuck and singing it in a song while singing ABCs.
That's so good.
Oh yeah, it's pretty great.
So I have a very, very quick one, because I think most of this episode is an adventure in my dating life.
It is.
So for me, I just wanted to say we went to, it was Thea's birthday yesterday, which is 2 days before you're listening to this, theoretically. And so over the weekend, we took the kids down to Sesame Place, and we got a hotel room. We had a gift card for like hotels.com or something, and our landlord has been begging us to get out of the house for a night so they could paint the steps, which they didn't do, by the way.
Oh, okay.
But they've been begging for us to leave. So like, okay, screw it. We're going to go down to like, it's an hour and a half drive, but we'll get a hotel room anyway, just so we can, make it a thing. Make it a thing.
Yeah.
So we stayed in the hotel, and like we got there and we're like, oh yeah, we don't know how we're going to do this with Thea. So we just kind of looked around the room. It's like, all right, so there's 2 beds, there's 3 people. We're not really just going to let her be in the big bed that's like 4 feet off the ground by herself. So I got it. We're going to push these things together. We're going to sleep like sideways so that there's no crack that somebody can fall in. And Thea's just going to sleep in between us. And let me tell you, that was the absolute most wonderfully bad idea we ever had. I, for the record, was fine because Thea didn't snuggle me. She snuggled my wife. Apparently, I didn't know it, but she actually did lay horizontally between us. And subsequently, like, I got her head and Aaron got her feet. And so she was just kicking the crap out of Aaron all night.
Yep.
Which made me feel terrible for her. But hey, I got the head.
Isn't Aaron the one who's awake all night anyway with your daughter?
Kind of. Like she sleeps better now. Like she slept through the night last night, so we all got lots of sleep.
Nice.
But aside from that, I think for a few days after we got back, Thea just woke up at night a lot because she kind of wanted to be snuggling mom. So she'd wake up and like she'd just keep waking up until she got to snuggle on the couch and sleep. So like that was a wonderfully fun thing for us to get to do as her parents, but I think it was a terrible idea for like getting her to remain sleeping at night.
Yeah, Miles has slept with us a couple of times, but I think it was, and I kind of had the same fear that it would start where he wouldn't sleep in his crib. And we kind of lucked out that didn't happen. But I think it's because he's been sleeping. I mean, we did that really early. So I think it was not as hard of a transition. It's really like bittersweet though. It's fun to have them sleep with you because you're like, you wake up and they're there and you're like, oh, it's cute. But then I have the same thing where Miles usually will kind of snuggle Sarah, but then will kick me throughout the night. And you're like, I just go to your bed.
Yeah, I was just perpetually worried I was going to like roll over and crush her.
I had that too, but I think we did it when he was littler. So I didn't have that I had gotten over that fear. I'm past that fear now because he's bigger and I'm not as big. Though my question would be, why didn't you guys had 2 beds, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't one of you just sleep in the other bed?
Well, because then we still had that problem of there's a side that she could roll out of. So we had to push them together, and then we created like a barrier between us that she couldn't roll out of.
Oh man, you worry about your kid's safety way more than I do.
Kind of.
I would have been like, he'll be fine. I'm still waiting for him to throw himself out of the crib. He's getting to that point where he's stacking his stuffed animals to climb out.
We'll get there.
Oh yeah,
we'll get there.
So this, I think I'm gonna do this time.
Oh, cool.
I think that's a good transition.
Right.
So, it is, or it was, Thea's second birthday.
I'm going to officially hand over the legal pad for the hosting duties today.
I know, because this is a pure Chris Moss episode.
There you go. All right. Let me get comfy.
I know. Dive in, guys. For
I only have a cup of coffee. I'm not sure how long this is going to last.
For some sweet storytelling from Christopher Moss. So Thea is how old now?
She is 2 years old officially as of last night.
So I think she is officially now a toddler. I know she has been a toddler, but I think 2 is when they become like full blown, you are a toddler.
Yeah, she's legally a toddler. We filled out the paperwork at the hospital. She's everything's official.
Good. And the next thing you fill out is a teenager when she hates you.
Yeah.
So I thought this would be a really good opportunity for us to kind of like, because you have the older child, to take the opportunity to kind of dive into what 2 years being a dad is like.
Okay.
But I think a good way to kind of ease us into this, since we did take the kids to...
I don't know. I kind of just slept through all of it.
You did?
I just kind of in a fog for 2 years. Just
nothing happened?
I don't remember anything from it. So this might be a very hazy...
Because your wife does all the parenting.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That you have like the perfect dad life. Then you're just like, I just get to hang out.
I had the perfect stereotypical dad life. I'll give you that.
You do, except you do.
That's true.
I hate you.
Go ahead.
So I think a good way to start this is, and this is something because we can both kind of talk about it as we move into this, is that we both took the kids to Sesame Place for Thea's birthday. So, what was your experience taking your toddler to a theme park, other than the hotel part of it?
So what I'll say about Sesame Place is it's kind of a place that's designed inherently for toddlers while also being physically designed for older kids. It's a smaller theme park. It's probably about 1 city block large, maybe a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But it's split up into essentially 2 different zones. Like there's several sections for different characters, but really I'm going to call it 2 different zones. There's the dry area where it's like, okay, we have basically carnival rides that are modeled in the Sesame Street characters, with like Elmo as all of his different, like Elmo the musical characters, like and like the little spaceships that go up and down.
Because basically Sesame Street is Elmo. Basically.
And then there's the water park area, which is like all these cool, awesome water rides. So we went with 2 kids that have to take, afternoon naps and who get cranky when they don't get afternoon naps, and 2 kids who are far too small to go on any of the things by themselves.
Thea could get on most, well, not by herself.
Yeah,
but
nothing by herself, but most things. I mean, look, Thea was still below all of the lines that would have mattered. So as far as size-wise, they were in the same boat. What I'll say is that we did pretty much a day full of the dry rides. So it's probably like a 2-to-1 ratio wet to dry. So we kind of stayed in like the smaller section because we got there bright and early, which was wonderful. And you kind of expect the worst. And so we got there as early as we could when it would be the least full. We got there as early as we could so that it would be fairly cool and we could ease our way into it. And then we kind of expected we were going to be out of there by noon because we figured she was going to be terrified of like the 6-foot Elmo's characters walking around.
How did she do that? Because we weren't there, but did she like it?
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish your statement.
Oh, I say because we weren't there, but you guys had done the picture stuff before we got there. So I was curious how she did with that.
She did great.
That's awesome.
We did the pictures with the characters really early while it was still a short line, which, by the way, it still took like 20, 30 minutes to get through that stupid
That was
thing.
like how did you do with the lines, by the way?
Oh, she was great.
That's good.
She likes to people watch.
Okay.
We're in people watching phase. Like when we go to the pool for swim lessons, we've realized that part of the reason why she gets cranky in the pool is because she likes to watch people first. So we'll go up and anyway, point is she really likes watching people. So we're in the line. She was watching like the little girls in like the Abby Cadabby outfits with the bubble makers. She was watching people go up and like give Elmo a hug and give Julia / Big Bird a hug because they were like that section had like they were switching out every 20 minutes or something.
Okay.
Elmo was there the whole time.
Of course he was because he's Elmo. I mean,
because everybody wants Elmo.
Yeah.
Like you could tell like every hour or so they're like, okay, Elmo will be right back in about 10 minutes. I'm like, are they switching out people or are they just giving this guy a drink?
They probably switched out people.
Which I would hope so because
it
wasn't a hot day, but it was definitely
by the time
we left it was hot.
It was hot.
Either way, that's gotta be a hot costume. So anyway, she did great. I think she was shy with the characters, but she didn't scream, she didn't cry, she didn't run away. She stood there with us next to Julia while Julia petted her stuffed teddy bear, and then we went over to Elmo, and again she was shy, but as we were leaving, she gave him a high five.
Nice.
It was cool. I don't think we got a picture of the high five, but still.
So one of the things that you mentioned, or one of the things I noticed there that Sarah and I had kind of touched about afterwards, was this idea of the fast pass and the rides. 'Cause I felt like it was hard to get on a lot of rides because you have the lines. So so this is a good question. In retrospect of going back into the theme park world, right? Because this is something I'm assuming we'll go to again because
I think we will.
We live by more, well, and we live by a couple that you can age up into.
Sure.
Would you do the fast pass so that you can eliminate?
All right, I have thoughts about the fast pass.
Yeah.
All right, so first off, the fast pass is this evil, like if anybody who out there doesn't know what the fast pass is, essentially you pay twice the price of a regular ticket, which is already ridiculously expensive.
Like $100, right, or whatever.
So the tickets to go to the place when you buy them online and not at the gate are like $55 a piece.
Which is
and
what we
then
did.
a fast pass is $50 to $5 a piece. If you have a kid who's under 2, you don't have to pay for them for their ticket, but you do still have to pay for their fast pass.
Yes.
So essentially, it's $100 to take 2 adults and a toddler without the fast pass. It's what, 300 almost to do it with. So, but the benefit is you get to go basically to the front of the line. Like there's a special fast pass line. They cut off how many people can buy fast passes, so the line that line is never that long. So it's whatever. So my problem with it is that number one, if you don't buy a fast pass, those lines go from being like an hour long to 3 hours long.
They were really, that one ride that the kids went on, we didn't go on.
Yeah.
Was super long.
So all of the rides have very limited seating. And what will happen with the fast pass people is they'll go on the ride because they can go to the front of the line. They'll exit when the ride's over, and then they'll just get right back on the line. So this, again, like this line that would otherwise be 30 minutes long is suddenly 3 hours long because like half the seats are always filled up
with fast pass
people. And so that just cuts down the amount of time that you have. So essentially, like I think we got 4 or 5 rides in like the 6-7 hours that we were there.
Yeah, I think we went on 3 and we got there later than you guys.
Yeah. Now, so what I'm saying is that if you want to enjoy the rides and everything at the park, you kind of have to do the fast pass.
Yeah.
Like if you legitimately, like if you don't want to just stand in lines all day, you have to do the fast pass.
Or if you have a kid like Miles who freaked out about the lines.
Right.
So here's a question.
Now here's my problem with the fast pass, and I really want to make sure I address this.
Okay.
The fast pass is kind of inherently racist.
I mean, you're not wrong.
So we were there, and it hit me about halfway through the day. Now, first of all, I want to point out we didn't have the fast pass. We didn't do this. We did the lines because we figured Thea wouldn't really like the rides. We figured she wouldn't really have fun, and that she'd be like cranky and exhausted and leaving by like 1:30.
I didn't even think about the fast pass going in either. That was the other thing.
Oh, I legitimately sat there for like 10 minutes when I was ordering tickets, like
and
debating
thought about it.
and just I figured we weren't gonna use it for a full day. So what's the point?
Yeah.
So as we were sitting there in the lines for however long, like there was that ride where you and I didn't go on it with the kids. And so we were just watching the line and we're like watching our kids start to melt down. And I started to notice like, oh, the really long line is full of people who like probably inner city people who like had to travel, a lot of minorities. And then you just watch the people who are like skipping their way up to the front of the fast pass line. And it's like, oh, these are all these like really like little cute preppy white kids.
Or that really hairy guy. He was a fast pass guy.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying it was exclusively
Yeah.
white, but it was like 90 something % white.
Oh yeah.
And I just was like, oh, this must be like the worst experience for anybody. Like if you already go through life, like in whatever sort of situation that you can think of as a minority, like having to like fear, like, oh, I'm walking down the street, is a policeman going to stop me and whatever. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to go to this magical wonderland where everything is okay. Like you're going to go to Sesame Street where the air is sweet. Nah, it ain't sweet here. You're still going to watch a bunch of white people cut you in line like moment after moment after moment.
The whole time.
So look, what I'm saying is, would I do it if I were to do it next time? I probably would, because I love my kid. And as much as I want to like do the right thing, I also kind of want my kid to have a good time.
Yeah. Oh,
but I think you're a bad person for it. Like if I had unlimited money, what I would do is I would say, okay, I'm going to buy these tickets. And then when we get there, I'm going to buy random Magic Pass tickets for two people and just like, okay, we're bad people. So we're going to try and mitigate this by here's 3 tickets for your family. I'm sorry.
So your privilege guilt will take over. And
yeah, no, that's the white guilt. Like here's your free Magic Pass. My bad.
I mean, listen, that Sarah and I got home, like when Sarah and I were leaving, I was like, I'd buy it. Even if I just buy like 2, one for one parent to go ride. Because first of all, when you have like our kid, like when the ride was over, he didn't have a concept of like, oh, I can't just go again. But this is the thing I thought about this. I think there should be etiquette to it. So like what the one guy did where he kept going back on the same ride, switch it up, go to a different ride, and then just come like, because you're going to get on it right away.
There were some people who just didn't get off. Like when we first got there, like I was wondering like, why aren't they getting off? Like, did they just not have to? And then it dawned on me after we got to that long one and we saw people just hopping back on. Like, oh, they just have the Magic Pass. So like, I'm not even going to bother getting off this thing.
See, I feel like you should get off and try something different and come back just so you can keep the line moving. But I do think I'm with you, like, especially at this young age where patience is at a premium. And I think that patience will get shorter before it gets longer. Man, it might be worth the money to just have a good day.
I mean, in my situation, it wasn't even a matter of patience because Thea did fine.
Yeah,
like,
she did really well.
She
actually
had as much fun just watching people as she did being on the rides. But she enjoyed the rides a lot, and so I can't help feeling like if you're only going to do it once in a while, like once every couple years or even less than that, then I don't know, spend the extra money for the fast pass and have that magical experience rather than the like awful dreaded like you're watching other people get to have the experience that you want.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think it's going to be kind of my theme park mantra going forward. Is if there is a fast pass, if I'm going to shell out a bunch of money anyway, I might as well just like shell out the money.
So here's my only issue. Like, so my understanding, and I'm not certain of this, but my understanding is that most parks have a fast pass now. It's like even if it's the local whatever like water slide park, they still have a fast pass.
I think they do.
So are you going to do it for all of them, even the ones where you're like, we go to this place 2 or 3 times a year?
No, I'd probably do it for the big, like with Sesame Place, I would do it just because Miles is little and he's a toddler who has to be in constant motion. So being able, so it's worth it for that. I'm saying like if you do Six Flags or you do like, there's the big roller coaster park in Ohio. I would love to do at some point with him.
Never heard of that.
My brother went to it. It's like got the fastest roller coasters in the world. It's supposed to be really cool. And Clint said like if you don't get that pass, like you get on 3 rides and that's your day.
Right.
So no, for like a regular water park or something, probably not. Like Disney, I would probably invest in something similar or use the system they have set up because if you're gonna go to someplace once or twice, I think it's worth it. You're already spending a bunch of money. So
I at the same time, I also. Like you guys took Miles to the Women's March like right after he was born, right? Why?
because it was it was important. It was really important to my wife to be a part of that. It was important to me as well. But
You
also
could have gotten a babysitter though.
at that point, I wouldn't know who we would have gotten because he was so little, and we weren't babysitter trusting yet.
Okay.
Also, he was in a phase at that point where you could take him places and he would just sleep. So we felt like it would be a pretty easy, and it was. I mean, other than like normal things you encounter when you have a newborn, like feeding and stuff, it was pretty easy. He just slept because he was on us, so he slept.
So
the whole time.
my obvious point that you are intentionally trying to avoid here is that if you're trying to teach your kids to be socially conscious and stuff like this, then getting your family the fast passes, knowing that this is a lesson that you're ultimately going to teach them, like, oh well, no, it's okay. So if you have money, you just get to be better than people.
Yeah. I also my flip side to that, which is not what I was thinking, but I could also take the approach that my wife takes with a lot of stuff, which is counterintuitive to how I am, because my family would never get the fast pass. Like that just wasn't like
right. Your family didn't have money.
Yeah, and even when we have money, like I'm so instilled by like my aunt that I don't like to spend money. My wife is kind of the opposite. Not that she likes to spend money, but for stuff like that, her theory is I work really fucking hard. Like I work long hours. I work like right now, she'll work a 78-hour work week.
Are you saying those people standing in line weren't working really hard?
But let me finish my thought. So her theory is if I'm going to work this hard to make the money I have, and I'm going to use this time to spend with my son, I'm going to spend that money so I can have more quality time as opposed to wait in line time. And I'm not going to say I probably wouldn't do it because I am cheap. But my wife's theory is that's not good quality time where she's sitting there trying to wrangle an upset kid, where she'd rather have and enjoy the time.
And look, like I said, I would probably like do the wrong thing and for whatever reasons. But I think that is something that should be acknowledged when you're buying that fast pass. Like you should pour one out for your humanity and say like, all right, I'm trading in a little bit of my soul so that we can have fun at this park.
I think you are. I think you can also explain that too. I think you can use it as a teaching moment when your kids are old enough to kind of ask that question and be like, well,
that might be the worst idea. So here we go, sweetie. Now just remember, we are better than these people.
No.
Like, no, we're not better than these people, but we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, but I think well, how do you deal with that question though? I think it's something that would come up, and you have to figure out how you explain. Like some people don't have that. Some people might have the means to do it and just don't. Let's be clear, there are those people too. So,
I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, how do you handle that question? You don't buy the fast pass. Like when they ask, you say, you know what, you're right. We should give our fast passes to somebody else.
There's no way I'm giving a $300 fast pass to somebody. I don't have that kind of money.
Neither do I. That's the thing, though, right? Like, if that's the question, like, how should you handle it? That's how you should handle it.
Yeah.
And then if you're asking, like, okay, so then what do you actually do? You go, Daddy prefers going on rides than being socially conscious.
Yeah, and I mean, this is something as we explore in parenting, there's gonna be a lot of that in our lives where there's things that, like, my dad said it best one day when you're a kid and you're like, we need to save the environment. I said this to my dad when I was little. I was like, all this stuff. My dad was like, well, do you like air conditioning? And I was like, well, yeah. He's like, he basically rattled off all the things that are bad for the environment that we use every day. And I realized I was like, oh, sometimes you're just a bad person for things that you enjoy or things that are benefits.
And I mean, look, I think I think saying that, like acknowledging that you are basically taking advantage of whatever privilege you have is a little different than saying, I'm going to make it so that I don't, die of heat exhaustion in my apartment.
But having air conditioning is a privilege. You can afford to pay for it.
I mean, I think most people would consider that a necessity in these days. And subsequently, you would go to like the Port Authority to say, I know you would go to the Port Authority because they have that advertised like, hey, we are an air conditioned place. Drop your kids off here if you don't have air conditioning.
True, but you still might have to go home and sleep. I'm just saying, like, there are things that we take as not privilege that are still privilege. Air conditioning is one of them. My point is that our kids, because we are lower middle class, are going to have certain privileges over other kids, and like you're gonna have to deal with that and explain it, understand like that's kind of how life is, and there's a way to approach that. Again, we haven't dealt with that question yet. But this is one of those things, especially with a toddler, I would probably do. Would I do it all the time? No, but if we move back to Sesame Place again next year and he was still impatient, I probably would, so he can have. It's also for my sanity, if I'm going to be completely honest.
All right. So next question.
Okay. Well, no. So there's one other question I want to ask, and I'll move on to like the 2-year question.
Okay.
Do you think it would be more, I was thinking about this the other day, more beneficial to get the hotel room during that day so you can go home and take a nap and come back? Or would you do it the same way where you got the night before?
So the reason we did it the night before was because we were trying to very explicitly get out of the house so our landlords could whatever. I think in reality, I just wouldn't have gotten a hotel room because that's $100 that we could have saved. Like we stayed at like the dirtiest hotel that we could possibly find. Like we walked up to our door and it looked like a werewolf had been trying to claw in all night.
It was Hudson.
We walked in and we're like, okay, where's the body? But the fact is, like, we only did it because we were trying to get out of the apartment for our landlord. I think had it just been a normal day, the place opens at 10 o'clock.
So you would just go like we
left
did.
7:30, like put the sleeping kid in the car, gotten there at 9:30, gotten into the line to get in, and still done everything we wanted to do at a very reasonable hour.
Yeah.
So I think we would have just avoided it. Now, I think to answer the question that you were thinking of, if you have to get a hotel, if like for whatever reason you have like $100 in your pocket and you're like, well, this is just going to be ripped up if I don't spend it. Yeah, get it for the day of. If you have a young kid that takes naps, because the hotels that we stayed at least were incredibly close, so you can leave, take that nap, like drink some water, refresh, and then you can come back afterwards because they have readmittance.
Okay.
Most places have readmittance.
Yeah.
And then you get the full day out of it instead of just the half day that we got.
And towards the end, I mean, the kids were pretty good towards the end, but like the tired towards the end where things might not be going
Yeah,
great.
Thea passed out before she actually got to the car.
Yeah, he passed out in the car, but same thing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I think we're going to do, so I was thinking a lot about this as I was making these questions to ask you as you move into this next phase, because the 3-month gap is still considerable. So these are my questions for you and just kind of where you're at as dad. So my first thing I would love to know is, so over these last 2 years, what kind of major, so I guess over the last year, because this full year has passed, what major changes have like struck you? Things that have surprised you as a parent, things that have, you've been like, well, I didn't see this coming, or that's really cool, or things that you've really enjoyed?
Everything. Like, and then,
Be more specific.
I mean, look, so it's difficult because I'm not a person who knew anything about kids. Like as I have made painfully clear throughout the run of our show, my wife is the person that knew what to expect. My wife is the person who knew how to handle them. She had a little sister who was 10 years younger than her. She was an elementary education major. She has been a preschool director / teacher / whatever for the last 10, 11 years. So she knows everything. I was an only child who had friends who were older than him, who didn't have younger siblings. I moved around a lot, so those friends changed. And so I never saw those same kids evolve. I knew nothing about little kids.
Yeah.
So for me, the fact that from last year around this time, Thea was starting to walk, I think, because I think it was when we were at so I'm thinking of this as like we went to pumpkin picking.
She was standing and like walking, holding your hand. Yeah.
She was walking a little bit because I remember, like, I think she had just started to really walk relatively well.
Yeah.
Because we were really impressed that she was able to walk on the vines and everything. And the fact that from then to now she has started speaking, she has started saying sentences, like rudimentary sentences.
Listen,
sentences.
Yesterday was the first time I heard her talk where I was like, holy shit, I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was really cool.
Yeah, because she got a bicycle for her birthday. And so she would say, Daddy, bicycle, push, please, push bicycle.
Push me,
please. Daddy, bicycle, push me, please.
It was really cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong, she's missing things in that sentence, but it's essentially a sentence.
It's a sentence. Like, I was like, oh, yeah, it was cool.
She's letting me know who, she's letting me know what, and she's asking me politely. She's great. So that's really impressive to me. I think it's really impressive to me that from this time last year where she could barely walk or maybe even not quite walk to this time this year where she's going down to the park and she's climbing that green climbing wall, or she's like getting onto the bicycle herself. Admittedly, look, the bicycle has training wheels, obviously, but she's still climbing onto that thing.
Yeah.
The fact that she can like throw balls and put together things, and like it's all amazing to me.
Has it been faster than you thought? Not like time, but just like, wow, this developed really quickly and she took off with it. Like the speed at which, has that been surprising to you?
Yeah, because everything just happens like at once.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've always kind of assumed like all these things would happen kind of slowly and organically. And it's like, okay, so one day she's going to say a word and then maybe she'll mumble the words. And then suddenly someday like, oh, I can kind of understand these words. And now I understand what she's saying. No, it's just like all of a sudden one day she's like, oh, hi, Father. May I have a biscuit?
Please play tea with me.
So for me, it seems like everything just kind of springs out of nowhere. Where like we try really, really hard for a while to get her to do something, and then suddenly it's like, I'm going to do it today.
That's
just it. It's just how it is from now on.
So this is a good transition. So one thing I would love to know, because especially with you in the way it's not being around a lot of kids, right?
Sure.
What do you think of the biggest change, right? Like, so your daughter's gone through all these changes. What's the thing you love the most? As she's entered like full on toddler, what's like the thing that you're loving the most as a dad with your kid right now?
I think for me, look, it's very simple. For me, it's the fact that she actually likes me now. That sounds terrible.
No. It makes sense.
But it is super true. When she was little, I mean, hell, even like easily last year this time, but even within like the last few months, I work, and sometimes that means I work until after they get home. And like, to be clear, like my wife gets home late. Like she usually gets home 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, which means Thea only has a half hour to an hour of like before she goes to bed. And if I'm not home, but sometimes that means I don't see her. But lately, when I do come home, she's been awake still, and so like the door will crack, and I'll hear her yell like, "Daddy!" And she'll come running and she'll give me this great big hug, even if I'm still putting down my bags. And it's great. It just feels amazing.
Does it make you feel like you're finally, I know you feel like a dad, but you're finally feeling like a dad, like you've stepped into that role?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think I'm pretty sure I've shared on this thing that I was not the best parent for the first year or so of her life. You can even extend that further, depending on how you want to define it. Like, I just didn't get to do anything. Because Erin knew what to do, and I was terrified at all moments that she would jump up and she'd just do it, whereas I would have to like really struggle and shake and be fearful. And because of that, Erin just kind of did everything. She would wake up in the middle of the night because like Erin is just always on alert with the kid, and I am like, I just fall asleep, and then it's like, okay, wait, is the kid screaming for real? Is it in my dream? Am I still asleep? What's going on? And by the time I've figured all of this out, Erin's already halfway down the stairs. So I've even like tried telling her before I go to bed, like, okay, Erin, I'm like I don't have to work tomorrow. You have to work tomorrow. Wake me up. Have me take care of her. And still, if something happens, she's halfway down the stairs before I know what's going on. Point is, since Thea has started to accept me as a person, like who can take care of her, who can do stuff with her, I'm able to do more. Like I'm able to I've always been the cook, but like I can sit down and I can like, give her food and she'll eat it in my lap. Whereas before, because Erin breastfed and whatnot, it's like, okay, mommy is the person I eat with. Mommy is the person I snuggle when I feel sad. Mommy is the person everything. And daddy was the person who, he flips me around sometimes.
It sounds like you can parent more now. You can actually do more quote unquote parenting.
I can do more parenting. I mean, I can do something with her. For the longest time, there was just like, because mommy, I'm assuming it's because mommy was the one who was always at school with her. She was the one who did the like being with you thing. And I was the person who was doing the separate thing. Like I was the person who was cleaning the house. I was the person who was taking out the garbage. I was the person who was making the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I was the person who was doing the things behind the scenes and not the person who was doing the things that were directly in contact with her. I'm sure the feeling was mommy's the one who takes care of me and daddy's the one who's absent. And now it feels more like Thea's starting to recognize that daddy's here for her and that daddy helps and daddy takes care of her. And so I'm able to do more. And that's really been the thing that has felt the best.
That's awesome. So this one will probably be a quick question. Because I know with me, I think about a lot about when he was little. But is there anything that you think you're going to miss as she moves into being a young child? Like miss from those early days that have changed and are gone? I mean, essentially they're kind of gone.
Incredibly little. And that's my answer because of all the things I just said.
And that's why I figured it'd be a quick one.
I mean, I'm sure there are things that I'll miss. I will probably, like, there are going to be toys that she's played with that we did that I'll miss. I'm going to miss daddy-daughter dance parties. When she was little, I used to put on a song. Admittedly, I think it was typically Outkast, Thea. And we would just kind of like boogie and shake, and she really enjoyed it. And then we haven't done that in a while because I think she doesn't really like to do that. Although a couple days ago, I put on the Moana soundtrack and Baby Shark, and she was boogieing with me again. So maybe it'll just evolve.
I think, well, that sounds like, so that's the thing. A lot of the stuff that you would miss are just stuff that's going to evolve and probably still be there for a long time until she gets older.
I think so. I think a lot of the things that I enjoy and that I'm looking forward to about, that I have looked forward to about being a parent are starting now.
Yeah.
This is the time that I have looked forward to and planned for and hoped for. And I think the things that were happening beforehand, those were very much my wife's.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing I'm going to miss about the years that have gone by is having the opportunity to do those things. Because it was always like, okay, this is where I earn my title as father.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did. I never did a lot of waking. I did a few times. I did periodically, but I never really did the like waking up at like 17 times in the middle of the night. I never did the like getting zero sleep and like still going to work and getting zero sleep the next night.
It's okay. It's better that way, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is, but I still have a little bit of survivor's guilt.
It's like a war. It's like a war, man.
It should have been me. It should have been me.
It's true though. I'm always interested in that because I think you and I have a little bit different perspective. And I think I knew that when you got this phase, this would be more the fun phase. And listen, most parents talk to you say this is one of the best. Like,
I mean, just from our conversations, I can already tell that, like, yeah, this is the phase that I was designed for.
Yeah.
Because like the temper tantrums that she's throwing, the stuff that, like that whole thing where I'm like, yeah, Thea doesn't really throw temper tantrums like Chris. She's been throwing temper tantrums for 6 months. It's like, okay, it's just because I don't see them that way. It's like, it doesn't bother me at all.
It's your patience level with that. You're good at withstanding it, right?
Sure.
Cool. So the next thing I really, and this I think flows into what you were just talking about. How do you think you've grown as a dad with her specifically? And not just like we all grow as dad, but like with your daughter specifically. How do you think over the last year, as she moves into this more independent person, you've grown as a dad, as a father?
I think a lot of it is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to sound really terrible.
Oh, well.
So no, it will probably sound really terrible.
No, we're used to you by now.
That's a fair point. I think for the first year and a half of my daughter's life, I didn't have that. So, when everybody says like, oh, you become a father, you look at them and you're just like, oh my God, I will love this kid forever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I had that.
Like that initial paternal instinct type thing.
Like that initial, you see them and realize you would throw yourself in front of a truck for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like that second. Like I knew I would, but I also knew that like it was something that I knew I would cognitively, not emotionally, not like when somebody looked at my kid, I just immediately like got defensive, protective, whatever, because no, this is my. It took me a while to really fall in love with my kid.
Do you think well, two questions. Do you think you know why? Do you think that, and this is me as your friend who's known you, that, and I think at times I caught that, and so there'd be like an overcompensation to be a dad. Mm-hmm. Do you think you know why that was? Have you really explored maybe why it needed to develop as opposed to just being there?
I think for me, a lot of it was, and this is going to sound bad, but I think it was boredom.
Yeah.
When she was a baby, like, I don't know, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like you sit there, like everybody just loves to stare at their child, and it's like, I could just stare at you for hours. Like, nah, I can stare at you for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I get it. Like, you're so cute. You grab my finger and, oh, that was so sweet. I love you so much. All right, you let go, whatever. I'm now like, you are still just laying there doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I get it. You're a person, you're experiencing things, and I want you to see my face, and I want you to know me, and that's how you develop that. But it is so goddamn boring, especially because the kid falls asleep every 20 minutes. And so it's like, okay, you're going to be awake for 20 minutes so I can change your diaper or something. And then you're going to fall back asleep for 3 hours. Like, fuck, what am I supposed to do? So for me, it was just like, okay, like I love this kid, but I didn't feel that like strong visceral attachment that most people do immediately. And so it wasn't until one of those first times where Thea just like, she saw me, her face lit up, and she came running. And yeah, I'll say it probably took until she was able to come running.
Yeah.
That like I first realized like I would do anything for this kid. And so like that is the thing that I think I have had changed emotionally the most. I know for a long time at work, like I've been the social coordinator, which basically means I coordinate like happy hours, which means once a week theoretically I wasn't home to see Thea except to kiss her goodnight. But now I'm looking at this thing, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to do this anymore, because I would rather have that 5 minutes to hold my daughter than to do anything that would further my career.
Can I ask you a really maybe hard, tough question to kind of come off of that? So one of the things
wasn't one.
no, it was, but like to follow up, that I think could be like a tough question, right?
Sure.
So with like you talk about like the happy hour and being gone, and something I experienced with Miles, because I was the one that was home more, is, and I liked the little phase I think more than you do. Did you think you relished in these tougher times that you had happy hour where you didn't have to be home and you didn't have to be in that boredom and that monotony that comes with having a tiny baby? Or is it something that you were like, you wish you didn't do it and you could have been home because maybe it would have changed it?
I think for me it was, I never really relished it. Like
Okay.
I was never, I mean, look, I like seeing people,
But some people are like, I want to be out of the house, and like I love my kid, but I want to be away and I want to do this, and I don't have to go home early at night because I don't have to do all of that stuff.
I always felt too guilty.
Okay.
Like I knew I should be home. I knew I should be like holding my daughter. I should be giving Erin a break. Especially during some of those months when she was, those weeks, I should say, she didn't have very much time. When she was home and not back at work yet, I definitely felt really guilty that I was doing this. And like I would try to get out early, but then something would be said where it's like, okay, I need to stay here so we can talk about X, Y, or Z at work. And so at the time it was like, well, I need to further my career so that I can take care of the family.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm going, I'd rather take care of the family than try and further my career.
That's really interesting. So one of the things I think this is good, because you talk about now how things are changing. You feel more like a dad. You feel more like you have that connection.
Sure.
What are the next steps you're looking forward to? Like, so we have in the next year where all these things are like changes are going to happen. What's the thing that you think you're most looking forward to with your daughter?
I'm really looking forward to her learning to drive a car.
Let's bring it back. Let's not talk about driving. She won't. It's gonna be self-driving at that point.
That's true.
Or they'll be flying. We need fucking flying cars, guys.
So I don't know what to expect. So when I think of landmarks and achievements, I don't know very many of them. Like I know at some point she's probably going to start saying like proper full sentences. At some point she's going to be potty trained. I don't know if that happens in the next year or not. I like it sounds like
it probably does, because you're already working towards it.
Yeah, I mean, we're already working on it. She's doing all right, but I don't know if that's going to be like full fledged. Here's some underwear. We have faith that you're not going to piss in them. Or if it's going to be like, I don't know. I suppose I'm looking forward to her next set of swim lessons, which start next weekend. We finished those last time and she was miserable. She hated them until the last one, which she really, really enjoyed. And we're like, fuck, I guess we're going to try this again after all.
Yeah.
Had to fucking enjoy it this time where we couldn't like have any consistency.
Process.
So we're going to do that, and that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it because I've come to like being in the pool again.
That's good. So it's good your swim lessons.
Yeah. Like for me to kind of like, okay, so that's right. This is how I do it. I'm looking forward to trying to get outside with her more once it cools off and the mosquitoes die. I'm hoping to
those mosquitoes.
See if she likes the woods and do all that kind of stuff. But really, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the achievements are. Like, I feel like this is one of those things where like I need Erin right here whispering in my ear, like, okay, these are the landmarks.
Well,
which one do you like?
So why? I'm trying to think of as a way I can taking it away from landmarks. So is there something like you talked about, like pie train? Is there like so there are a lot of things that are coming, like potty training or like.
I mean, if you want to give me a list, I'll pick one out of it.
That's
I don't actually.
That's
know.
what I'm trying to do
that's
for
the
you.
Thing, right?
It's like I'm just saying, like, is there is there a next step in her development? Is it being more able to like go to a movie or sit down and watch a full movie to ask you questions?
I mean, that shit's not coming this year. We're talking about the year that she turns 3. She ain't sitting in a movie at 3.
Listen, I think I could get Miles through the right kind of movie at 3.
No, there's no hour and a half movie that I can get this kid through. She would be climbing under people's legs in front of her, like looking up their skirt or something. Like, I don't know. I just want to see what people look like.
All right. Okay, I'll pass. I'll let that go.
That's the thing, right? Like, I would be happy to tell you, like, oh, I'm really looking forward to doing this new. I don't fucking know what's going to happen.
That's fair. Maybe you should study that in your challenge to be a fucking dad. I don't know.
Probably, but
so that's actually a good way to go.
If you want an answer, here's the answer. I think this is the most reasonable. I am looking forward to her potentially making friends, having friends, and getting together with friends outside of school.
That's actually a pretty.
I don't know if that happens this year. We have circumstances that make that difficult for us outside of like Miles.
Mm-hmm.
But if it happens, I'm looking forward to having that happen where I can see her actually play with other kids, because I've started to see her play with Miles, and looking at how much has happened in the last year, just assuming the same amount will happen in the next year, I can see that feasibly being something that develops.
That's a big one. Playing with other kids is huge because that makes life easier for you too.
I don't know if it does yet, but hopefully.
I think it'll be fun too. I don't know. I think that's something I'm looking forward to, is watching him play. Like, he's done it a little bit, but really like play with somebody. Sure. So I have 2 more questions.
Cool.
One is kind of a general question, but before I get to that, so what challenges are you facing as a dad? So you're talking about all these really cool things that happen for you.
Shit, have those things I said not been challenging enough?
But you feel like you've transitioned over those, right? Like, you're feeling more of the connection. You're feeling more like you're a dad. Is there something that you still find challenging, that you're still facing, that you're still working to develop as a dad right now with having a toddler?
I mean, yeah, everything still, right?
Specific, Chris.
Like, just to be clear, like, I've gotten better, but I still kind of suck as a parent.
Why do you state that? Why do you think that?
I mean, look, I think I suck at everything in life, to be honest. But
you're the person who's good at everything. Shut your face. Except for fantasy football, you suck at that.
When was the last time you won a championship?
Listen, at least
So if I had to really look at one thing that I would like to get better at, I think I would like to get better at. Here's an easy thing. So this is a shitty thing that's like always, because it's a problem that I have as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to encourage her to, I don't want to say eat better, but like not always shove junk food in front of her first.
Yeah.
Because it's something that I got from my family, especially my mother. Like, we show love through food.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, well, I know you love macaroni and cheese. So, like, admittedly, this was a birthday. This isn't a regular occurrence. But like yesterday, I made 2 different kinds of macaroni and cheese for her so that she could choose which style of macaroni and cheese she wanted. In the mornings, I typically, like, she usually has a morning Pocky. Like those... Like, she gets 1 stick. Like, for the record, a serving size is the entire packet, but she gets 1 stick, and then she gives me a stick, and we each eat Pocky together.
That's really sweet, but it's just really funny. It's your morning cookie, son.
Yeah, it is. Well, except for the fact that then she also gets her morning Tic Tac if she wants it, and then she gets her morning. So.
I'm gonna just take us back to when Chris was when Chris's wife was pregnant, when they were pregnant, and he was like, I'm gonna make sure that my daughter eats really healthy.
For the record,
here's your cookie.
This got ruined, but it wasn't by me. It was somebody else who perhaps has our family's finances in the palm of their hand that changed that. And then I was like, well, that asshole isn't going to fucking get my kids' love with food. I'm stealing it back. Food. I'm stealing it back.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, I would like to get better about going straight to the junk food without offering her something nutritious first.
Yeah.
Just because I know that's a terrible habit that I have. On the other hand, I'm also kind of looking forward to like making 12 dozen kinds of cookies at Christmas again.
That'll be fun because she can do it with you.
Yeah, because now she can do it with us. Like last year, it was difficult. Like it was just us baking. We didn't actually make that many cookies last year, but this year is like we can really make the spread, fill up the cookie freezer, and really have fun with it.
I think that's a good. I think that I know like the wanting to give her health food, but I think that's a good sacrifice because that's such a cool tradition in your guys' family.
It is.
So my last thing, and this can be really quick,
especially because you get the leftovers.
I didn't last year.
We didn't have any.
Fucker. So they always go back because they never eat them fast enough. Like the opposite of your kid. And my kid won't eat them because he's weird.
That's super weird.
I know, he spit out the awesome pudding yesterday. So the last thing, I guess I'm just curious, was it hard not having your family here for a birthday? Was that something that affected you at all? Or are you pretty much gotten used to that at this point?
I don't know if it was hard not having them here for her birthday. I would say it's not. I would say it's more difficult not having them here on a regular basis.
Okay.
So I don't know. Like we had you guys around for her birthday. Like we had family together for her birthday because we all went down to Sesame Street. We did a big activity that was special. That was not something that we would do on a normal day. We got together with the people we love and we all shared the experience. I'm sure it was difficult for my family. But they all have their own separate occasions that they choose to make special. So my parents come at Christmas because they're huge Christmas people.
Yeah.
And look, it's expensive to travel from the Midwest to New York. So, and especially because we have an apartment, so it's not like they can just stay in one of our rooms. But they also have to get a hotel.
But like Christmas is your guys' thing.
Yeah, like it is our thing. And so they come for Christmas and they spend almost a week here for Christmas. And so they get to see Thea at Christmas, which is important to them. My stepfather typically gets New Year's when he comes and he spends a couple days with us for New Year's. And my mother-in-law and her husband usually come. I don't know. Like they come.
They seem more like kind of like Sarah's parents. It's more of a random, like we're coming for these couple days. Or whatever.
Yeah, very much. Like there is no specific occasion for them, but they come, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
And so everybody gets their time, and it's all around a special occasion where it's like they get their moment that's special to them. So the fact that they weren't here for her birthday. I don't know. Like when I was growing up, I don't remember a lot of big birthday celebrations or things. I always had events. Like we went to Six Flags. We went to the movies when we were poor. We went to, I don't know. I think I had one at maybe it wasn't literally for my birthday, but I think it was around my birthday. We went to Disney World. So for me, what was always important is as a kid, when I was surrounded by people I loved, even if it wasn't my extended family and a big blowout. So no, it didn't bother me not having them around. It bothers me more that they can't just come over and see Thea and get a hug and a kiss and
have that more traditional
just
Midwest
have like
grandparent stuff.
Just be a fixture in her life. Not to mention that, God damn it, it would be really nice to just have a babysitter.
You could just hire one.
I know, but it's like, because then it's like,
I know.
You're actually really appreciative of getting to babysit instead of like, oh, I have to pay you a bunch of money to do this.
Yeah, but they might still really
and then
like
also
your kid.
worry that you're a serial killer.
If you're wondering, you can go and check one of our previous episodes about Chris's crazy, unfounded fears of babysitting.
Just for a quick update on that, we still haven't gotten a babysitter.
I know you haven't. That's why I'm giving you shit about it. Because that's how I parent like a little brother. I just make you feel bad about it, so you try it.
That's right.
I'm trying to progress you as a human.
Makes sense.
That's all I got. I thought it was. Thank you, by the way, because I thought it was a really cool thing to kind of touch base on what you've experienced.
Yeah, thank you. You only made me cry twice.
That's my goal in life, is to make you cry. So I'm gonna continue to do this shit because fucker, I got the notepad.
Oh, my coffee's empty. This is worthless
now. So we don't have any emails this week, but if you would like to email us, we would love to hear from you, or Facebook us, or Twitter us, or just please talk to us because we miss you, and I know you're out there.
It's true. I've heard that there are in fact listeners. They're mythical right now, but I'm sure they're there.
They're there. So please email us questions or thoughts, or what, maybe if you have like a 3-year-old, what things Chris can look forward to in the next year so he doesn't have to ask his wife.
Yeah, and tell us some of your personal, deepest, darkest secrets, because I kind of feel on display here.
Yeah, well, guess what? This is usually what you do to me, so it's my turn. You can email us at two dumbdads at twodumbdads.com. It's pretty
emails at twodumbdads.com. That's emails at the number 2dumbdads.com.
Chris always gets to do it, so it's just my turn. So do we have any news? Are we news free this week?
I think we are. When did we start doing news? We have news?
You have something that says news. I can't read your shitty handwriting.
That's emails none.
Oh, That looks like a news to me. So we're going to move into the best part of this show, the Nick's Bake-tastic Ballyhoo. And I'm Nick to talk to you about my Bake-tastic Ballyhoo.
So this week I was baking a giant loaf of bread that was primarily made out of the mosquito droppings from my backyard. It's incredibly organic. You see mosquitoes, they actually filter the blood out to get the pure hemoglobin. It's the hemoglobin loaf that's mostly found in the northeastern region of Zimbabwe, where these mosquitoes are originally from. You see, they've actually traveled over to New Jersey. It's really the only other place in America that you can make this type of bread. So I gathered that hemoglobin from the mosquito. No, it's hemoglobin. From the, it turns into hemoglobin once the mosquito poops it out. I took that and I actually kneaded it into the glucose, which turns into. Anyway, Nick.
Did you make a round loaf or what kind of loaf did you make?
It was a molded loaf. It looks like a Ninja Turtle.
That I would love to make that.
Nick, what are you actually
I
making?
wonder if there's a hemoglobin bread. I'm going to look into that.
God damn it. Don't look up blood bread. I know there's blood sausage.
I'm looking up blood bread now.
Next time I'm going to come over and I just see Nick with an IV in his arm. Chris, I'm making bread.
For the bread.
I'm making bread.
So Bake-tastic Ballyhoo. So I made a couple things. I made a bourbon bread, which I actually gave you one of the loaves. I was not happy with it.
We had 2 slices. Then we went on our trip and it was a rock by the time we got home.
Yeah, because it's a cornbread, so that shit goes fast.
Okay.
So I wasn't really happy with it, so I'll try that again. But the big thing this week is I have
more bourbon next time.
Yes, yeah, I'm gonna
just douse that shit.
I'm gonna double the bourbon. I think it was the bourbon I used. I just don't. I think it's a really nice smooth bourbon. I think it just didn't have enough of a strong flavor, but I'll play with that and figure it out. But what I did do this week is I made bread for a friend's show that they're doing. That's just kind of like for he can give to people.
Oh, cool.
But I had to make 4 loaves at once, which doesn't seem like a lot. It's a fucking lot. So I made double batches of everything, which I hadn't done before.
Okay.
And it turned out it worked really well. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. It was about 4 pounds of dough to work with at once. So 8 pounds of dough total. So it's breads I've made before, olive loaf and some Lithuanian table bread, but it was cool to try to make something in more of a mass style. And as opposed to make
4 loaves.
Listen, 2 at a time.
If that's a bakery, you're closed before noon.
If it's a bakery, I could do more of it. But that's the biggest my bowls could handle. I don't have bowls big enough to make more than 2 at a time.
Oh, wow.
For those big round loaves.
Okay.
But it was a challenge because just space, right? I just don't have a lot of space. So
sure,
I did it. I was like, okay, cool. So this is possible to do at a more bigger effect. But it was fun. So that was my Bake-tastic Ballyhoo. I made some bread and I made pizza last weekend. So that's about it. So Chris, you got any good recommendations this week?
I do. So I had initially thought about recommending that Fast Pass, but the more I think about it, no, don't get the Fast Pass. I mean, look, if you want to have fun, yes, but if you want to be a good human being, which I would like to think we're in support of, we're usually not, but we're theoretically in support of good humanity. Don't get the Fast Pass.
He's anti-fun.
Instead, I'm going to recommend a book that my sister-in-law sent Thea for her birthday. It's called Interstellar Cinderella.
That's awesome.
It's by Deborah Underwood, illustrated by Meg Hunt, and it is an amazing twist on the Cinderella story. So the story follows interstellar Cinderella, who is a spaceship mechanic, and so it hits all the typical beats of the traditional Cinderella story. Only instead of like, I need to go dance and do blah blah blah, she's a mechanic who's like, I'm gonna fix shit and I'm gonna like help this prince dude whose spaceship broke down, and whatever, I dropped my wrench and whatever.
That's awesome. I really like that.
And because this is the Cinderella story and we all know what the Cinderella story is, I don't feel bad ruining the ending. Instead of getting married to the prince when he proposes, she goes, nah, I want to be your mechanic instead. And then they become friends and she's his mechanic instead. And she's like, awesome, I get to travel space in spaceships.
Does she then off him and become the ruler of the realm?
This is not Game of Thrones. This is not
Everything is Game of Thrones.
This is not Interstellar Lord Baratheon or whatever. This is Cinderella still.
Fine, whatever.
So I think that's a really fun book.
That's cool.
And Thea seemed to enjoy it this morning when we read it to her. So I'm going. And I will say the artwork is really cute. I think it's really good artwork.
I'm looking at it now. It looks really awesome.
It looks kind of vaguely familiar to like the Scott Pilgrim style.
Yeah.
So if you like that kind of stuff, it's a completely different story, obviously, but the artwork's good.
That's awesome.
Cool. How about you, Nick?
So I feel like I'm the TV show recommender now.
No, it's not like you don't read books.
Reading's hard for me.
That's true.
Listen, we read a lot of books. That's all Miles wants to do is read books, which is a really good thing, but also really frustrating.
Yeah, how are you not the book recommender?
Because I read so many, and he's just like, book, and there's not really one where I'm like, I love this book.
So your recommendation is actually just to burn books?
No, it's listen, read with your kid. I'm glad my kid likes books, but he gets really upset if you're not reading the book he wants to read, and it's hard. I've read Brown Bear so many fucking times.
Thea started having us read her. My aunt got her a collection of 5-minute fairy tales. It's the Mickey Mouse version, and so she'll have us just read. I should have saved that for a recommendation, but that's a double for y'all.
Just save it and bring it back. My recommendation is another show that's on Netflix that my wife and I started watching. That's kind of just a fun kind of family. It's pretty family friendly, but it's something we enjoy. That's easy to watch. It's called Kim's Convenience. It is a Canadian show about a Korean family who lives in Canada, and it's all about like this Korean family and their daughter and their son. So it's pretty multicultural, which I liked a lot. It's really fucking funny in a really wholesome way, but still deals with like what it's like to be like an immigrant and how that can be culturally different, and how if your parents who are first generation and the culture between them and their kids and like what are expected, like, but in a humorous way. So I thought it's really good. I also like having shows like that on sometimes when Miles around, if we're not watching Sesame Street, just to be like, hey, not every show needs to be full of white people.
That's always nice
because I think it's important, and also you support it. So that's my. It's really funny. It's really good. There's 2 seasons on Netflix. Sarah and I blew through them. So Kim's Convenience. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of good times.
Awesome. So I'm actually going to steal this moment to give a recommendation for my wife. She watched a movie recently that she was really enamored by. And so I want to make sure we have the chance to put it out there.
It's one my wife gave to your wife.
It could be one that your wife gave to my wife, but I don't know who gave it to my wife. And so instead of that, I'm just going to like, I don't care. We're gonna put this thing on there because she really enjoyed it. And yes, everybody, this is in fact me buying time while I try and find the name of this.
Is it a movie on Netflix?
It is a movie on Netflix.
Is it called Letters to All Those That I've Loved?
That's the one.
Yeah, my wife has watched it like a bajillion times.
Letters to All of Those That I Have Loved. Is that
Letters to All the Boys I've Loved?
Yeah, that one. So it's a really good movie. It's about so the movie is it's a romantic comedy in the style of, you know, a traditional teenage romantic comedy where there's a love that's unrequited. There's a new boy who you fall in love with, and it's great. But the thing that that's kind of fun about it is that it's also the lead actress is I don't know if she's Asian American or Asian, but she's
Vietnamese,
of Asian descent.
She's Vietnamese.
And subsequently, it's kind of nice to see that, like, look, there's this story that is absolutely completely unimportant about it being her minority background, but it's just a lead that happens to be some other sort of non-white descent. So I don't know. It's a really good movie. It's actually really well written and all that good stuff. So I really recommend it. Check it out. It's the Letters to All of the Boys That I Have Lost.
I think I've said the title wrong. I'm looking it up right now for you. The name of the movie is, because she also plays Jubilee in X-Men Apocalypse. It's To All the Boys I've Ever Loved Before.
To All the Boys I've Ever Loved Before. Check it out.
It is great. It's how we found out about Kim's Convenience. It was recommended because we watched that.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's great. I also really enjoy it.
Awesome.
So Chris, where can we find you?
So you can find me at Chris Mossigan on Twitter and at Rampant55 on Twitch for all of the videos that we make here for the video games and such for the monthly download. You can also find us at twodumbdads.com for everything we do. Nick, how about you?
You can find me at nwestomeyer on Instagram, at nwestomeyer on Twitter. You can find us on Twitter at 2_dumb_dads. Also, please remember that if you are listening to this on a pod service like iTunes or one of those fantastic ones, please rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help us. It helps get the show out there and keep helping us keep giving you awesome content like today.
Yeah, and if you like us, share it with a friend. Let somebody know that you like listening to two guys who have no idea what they're talking about.
And I'm gonna finish by steering this ship into land. See you all later.
Well, did that feel good that you got to see the ship? Did that feel like that?
I hate it.